Welcome back to the channel. My name is Jasmine and I lead the creative agency trusted by hundreds of female founders that have collectively generated over $50 million in revenue. And in today's video, I want to talk to you about something that sounds so basic, but you're still not doing or sticking to, and that is content calendars. Content calendars should be a huge part of your business as a female founder and are probably the easiest system to set up to make sure that you're not just creating content consistently, but you're creating content that's also aligned with what your audience needs to see from you and is aligned with what is currently trending. Content calendars are also not just for when you have a campaign or when you want to put something together. If you're not launching anything right now, you can still be putting content calendars to use because you can put what I call a content campaign in place. This means that at any moment, your content should still be serving a purpose to drive opt-ins, to warm up leads, to engage your audience so that when you are ready to open up doors to your next campaign, people are ready and aren't feeling like you're blindsiding them by ghosting and showing up here and there. So why don't content calendars work from what I've seen? I feel like I have downloaded every single freebie, opt-in, template from every single creator out there that has a content calendar that they swear works, but that is not the case here. And this is why you're not going to get a content template from me. I'm going to teach you how to create your own content calendar that works for your energy, for your consistency level, and for what it is that you want to create regularly. So before I get into what you're now putting on this document, it's important to note why we're actually creating this content calendar to begin with. You should be using this content calendar every single month as a tool, not only to show you what you're putting out in the next month and how consistent you're being and how many posts are going out, but to make the content creation process easier, to make your ideation so much quicker and so much faster. So that is what we're creating the content calendar with, that goal in mind. So to start off, we're going to create columns for every single day of the week, Monday through Sunday. So every single column, you're going to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Even if right now you don't post on weekends, that's totally fine. Still create one for 7 different days. Then we're going to create 6 rows. So obviously you have the row that has all of the days of the weeks titled Monday through Sunday, but then you're going to have every single row dedicated to 1 week. So week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5. Sure, some months have 3 weeks, some months have 4, some months have 5, but we do 5 weeks so we can account for any month of the year. We can still use this calendar and don't feel like we have to change it up from scratch. Right off the bat, you now have a base template that you can use for yourself during any month without any changes required. You don't have to change the numbers on the document for depending on the day of the week. You don't necessarily have to cut one short, cut one long. You can use the same one every single month. Again, the goal is to make this as easy as possible for you to whip up, use right away. The next step is actually putting down what our content categories are. I did a whole separate video talking about content categories and building your signature 4, which are essentially 4 branded content categories that you come up with based on what you want to put out, what your niche is, what your expertise is, and really what you want to become known for in your content. So once you figure out what your 4 content categories are, you get to put them across the calendar. But first, we want to focus on how many times a week do you want to post? I know this sounds so simple. This sounds like the easiest thing and you've been creating content forever. But when we are sitting down and getting ready to start our content creation process, there are so many little decisions and little questions we have to make that our brain gets tired by. If I'm sitting down and creating content and I'm already wondering, is this a post? Is this a reel? Is this a carousel? What do I do? What do I design? When do I post this? Is it going to be about this or about that? So the content calendar should eliminate all of the decision fatigue so that you can just sit down and make quick decisions and get started with your content creation process and actually follow through with the calendar, not just one time, but many times after the fact. So you're going to decide what is going to be your cadence. Are you going to post 2 times a week, 5 times a week, 7 times a week? You get to decide. And my recommendation is to stick with the bare minimum. And if you do anything extra, great. So don't shoot for something that you want to strive for, but then you know that you're not necessarily doing. So don't say you want to put out 5 posts a week if in reality you're only putting out 3. So let's stick with the number that you feel great at, which let's say is 2 or 3. And then you get to mark those kind of boxes on the calendar with like a little shaded gray color. So now we have every single week, there are 2 or 3 boxes shaded limited depending on how many times we're trying to post a week. So you get to also decide, do you want to post on the same day every single week? Do you want to post on Monday, Wednesday, Friday? Do you want to post on Tuesday, Thursday? Or do you want to switch it up every now and then? Again, make that decision and coordinate things accordingly on the calendar. For me, I like to switch it up every now and then, which means that every box every single week is shaded differently. Sometimes it's Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. Sometimes it's Monday, Tuesday, Friday. Sometimes it's all different things. And that's just personally the way I like it. But if you like to stick to specific days, you're more than welcome to do that. Again, I do this so that it eliminates the fatigue of, do I post next week? What day? What time? How does it work? So after you have those shaded boxes, you can then bring out the content categories I mentioned earlier. You can bring your signature 4 and fill them in based on the boxes you have shaded. So if you have 10 different boxes shaded, you get to decide how many of them you want for content category 1, how many of them you want for content category 2, 3, 4. By the end of it, you should have a mix of all the different categories, how many times you're posting, what days of the week you're actually posting on, and overall you can see your strategy of, okay, do I have a good mix of everything? Am I posting enough throughout the month? Am I posting enough about each different category? And you now have a calendar template that is built all because of what you want, how often you want to post, and what you actually want to be working toward. From here, what you should be doing every single month is you take your calendar, you put it into a new document, you duplicate it for content for October, content for July, content for February. So you get to put that in there. And now your only job during your actual ideation phase is to put in the topics in which you want the content to be about. Now you're not necessarily starting from a blank document, and you won't ever again. You'll be able to whip up this calendar and then decide, okay, it says here that I need to come up with 4 topics around content category 1. Let me do that right now and fill them in the appropriate boxes on my main calendar. Literally within 20 minutes, you should be able to come up with all of the content topics that you want for all of the different categories that you already know are on brand for you, that already follow a cadence and a structure that works for you, your goals, and your business, because you have your own custom content calendar that you can use repeatedly and is so efficient to, again, use, duplicate over and over again. Now, of course, there are lots of different ways that you can make this prettier. You can color code it with your brand colors. You can put your brand fonts in there. You can even decide to customize it a little bit more every single month. But this is a tried and true process that I have been implementing now for over 2 years, when I used to download every single freebie, every single content calendar, every single creator's recommendation. And I used to just get overwhelmed with all of the things that is on the calendar that doesn't necessarily suit me, my brand, or my business. And so now you have your own content calendar that you can utilize to be consistent with your content planning, to actually get the content strategy out there and make the content ideation process so much easier.